Many people do think about themselves. They analyze themselves. They explain themselves. They reflect on their choices. They create stories about why they do what they do, and yet they still may not see themselves clearly. Welcome to Those Thinking Lounge, driven by curiosity. Today, let's talk about Tasha Eurich's book, Insight. The book is about a simple but difficult ability, seeing ourselves clearly. But it is not a soft idea. It is not about personality. It is about how we understand ourselves, how others experience us, and whether our self image can survive contact with reality. We often say that people should know themselves. That sounds familiar, but here is the problem. Many people do think about themselves. They analyze themselves. They explain themselves. They reflect on their choices. They create stories about why they do what they do. And yet, they still may not see themselves clearly. Because thinking about yourself is not the same as understanding yourself. That is the real value of insight. The book reminds us self awareness is not only looking inward, it is the display of testing our self image against reality. The central problem of this book can be captured in one word gap. Not a knowledge gap, a self awareness gap. There is often a distance between the person we believe we are and the impact we actually have. For example, someone may believe they are careful, but other people may experience them as hesitant. Someone may believe they are direct, but colleagues may experience them as dismissive. Someone may believe they are clear, but the audience may feel overloaded and confused. The point is not to immediately decide who is right and who is wrong. The more important point is this: we often understand ourselves through our intentions. Other people experience us through our behavior. We know what we meant. Other people experience what we said, how we said it, and what effect it had. That is why self awareness is difficult. We live inside our intentions. Other people live with the consequences of our behavior. Tasha Eurich makes an important distinction. Self awareness has two dimensions. The first is internal self awareness. This means how I understand myself. What do I value? What am I afraid of? What do I really want? How do I react under pressure? What patterns do I repeat? These questions matter. If we do not understand our values, emotions, motives, and habits, we cannot make stable decisions. But the more powerful point in the book is this: internal self awareness is not enough. The second dimension is external self awareness. This means, how do other people experience me? Do others find me clear? Do others find me reliable? Do others feel that I am listening? Or do they feel that I am merely expressing myself? Do I help them understand, or do I make things more complicated? This part is easy to miss because we usually care more about what we meant than what other people received. But in professional life, people often remember impact more than intention. You may intend to be precise, but others may experience hesitation. You may intend to be deep, but others may experience complexity. You may intend to protect quality, but others may experience delay. So, if you only know your intention but not your impact, you do not yet fully know yourself. Real self awareness requires both how I understand myself and how others experience me. One of the most interesting ideas in this book is that it does not simply tell us to reflect more. In fact, it warns us more introspection does not always create more insight. That matters because we usually assume that the more we reflect, the more self awareness we become. But reflection has two forms. One kind of reflection brings us closer to reality. Another kind only makes us better at explaining ourselves. For example, when we ask, why am I like this? The question can sometimes help, but often it leads us into a system of explanation. We begin to tell a story. Maybe it is because of my past. Maybe it is because others misunderstand me. Maybe it is because the environment is unfair. Maybe it is just my personality. These explanations may contain some truth, but they carry a risk. They can keep us inside explanation instead of moving us toward change. That is why the book gives us a very practical question. Sometimes the better question is not why, it is what. Instead of asking why do I always fail, ask what pattern appeared this time. Instead of asking why do people understand me, ask what part of my communication made it hard to understand. Instead of asking why I'm so stressed, ask in what situation do I lose judgment? What can I prepare differently next time? Why often pulls us toward explanation. What often moves us toward action. So the book is not against the reflection. It is against the reflection without evidence, without feedback, and without behavioral change. Useful reflection does not make us cycle endlessly inside our mind. It helps us see real patterns more accurately. So, real self awareness cannot build alone. That does not mean we should depend completely on other people's opinion. And it does not mean other people are always right. It means this: other people can see parts of us that we cannot easily see. We know our intention. Others see our behavior. We know how much effort we made. Others feel the results. We know what we try to say. Others know what they actually heard. So feedback is not an attack on identity. Feedback is data about impact. Of course, not all feedback is useful. Good feedback usually comes from people who know you, want you to improve, understand the context, and are willing to tell the truth. For a lawyer, this is especially important. You may believe your legal analysis is comprehensive, but the client may feel lost. You may believe your writing is professional, but the reader may not find the point. You may believe you are cautious, but the team may experience indecision. At that moment, the mutual response is not immediate defense, and it is not immediate self attack. The better response is to ask, is there something true here? That question matters because growth does not require treating every piece of feedback as truth, and it does not require treating every piece of feedback as an attack. It requires treating feedback as material. Then we can calmly ask, what impact does this reveal? What pattern does this show? Do I need to adjust? That is the value of feedback. It gives us contact with the part of reality we cannot see alone. This book is especially useful for professional development because one of the most dangerous states in professional life is not simply low ability. Sometimes the greater danger is this: your ability is growing, but your self awareness is not growing with it. The smarter a person is, the better they may become at explaining themselves. The harder a person works, the easier it is to believe the direction must be right. The more experienced a person becomes, the easier it is to mistake past success for present accuracy. So, self awareness is really a calibration skill. It helps us compare. Is the problem I think I have the real problem? Is the strength I believe I have actually creating value? Is my communication as clear to others as it is to me? Is my effort actually improving the result? This matters deeply in legal learning. In essay preparation, for example, someone may believe I'm just not working hard enough, but the real issue may not be effort. It may be weak skipping discipline. It may be poor review. It may be unclear reading structure. It may be declining judgment under pressure. If you misdiagnose the problem, your effort may be wasted. The same is true for public communication. A creator may believe my content is not deep enough, but the real problem may be the opening is too slow, the structure is unclear, the example is too abstract. The audience does not know why they should keep listening. So, growth is not simply applying more force. Growth begins by seeing the real bottleneck. That is the professional meaning of self awareness. It is not emotional comfort, it is an operating system. This book also fits very well with Charlie Munger's way of thinking. Munger often emphasized the one basic rule: do not fool yourself. That sounds simple, but it is extremely difficult because the easiest person for us to fool is often ourselves. We protect our self image. We accept evidence selectively. We explain value as external. We explain success as personal ability. So, real rationality is not only the ability to analyze other people, real rationality also includes the willingness to analyze ourselves. But insight is an important correction. Analyzing yourself does not mean endlessly living inside your own mind. It means building a mechanism that forces your self explanation to meet external reality. In other words, wisdom is not I know myself very well. Wisdom is I willing to keep correcting my understanding of myself. That is the deepest connection between insight and Munger style thinking. Self awareness is a system against self deception. It does not make us more anxious, it makes us less trapped by our own explanation. Let's use a simple workplace example. Someone speaks very directly. He says, I just care about the efficiency. That is his internal explanation, but his colleagues may experience something else. He does not really listen. He always shuts people down. I do not feel comfortable sharing early ideal with him. The issue is not necessarily that he is a bad person, and it is not necessarily that he is completely wrong. The real issue is that there is a gap between his intention and his impact. He believes he is improving efficiency. Other people experience interruption, pressure, and rejection. At that moment, self awareness does not mean saying that is just who I am. And it does not mean saying I'm terrible. Real insight would sound more like this: I value efficiency, but my communication style may be reducing other people's willingness to participate. That is where growth begins, not self attack. reality calibration. So, the most valuable lesson from insight is not the formula phrase, know yourself. It is a stricter standard. Can your self image survive contact with reality? Each of us lives inside our own explanations. We explain our motives, we explain our choices, we explain our values, we explain our strengths. But real growth often begins with a more honest question. What if my understanding of myself is not fully accurate? That question is not self denial. It is the beginning of more precise improvement. The goal of our self awareness is not to become obsessed with yourself. The goal is to become less trapped by yourself. When a person can see inner motive, outer behavior, and the real world impact together, growth becomes more honest, more specific, and more reliable. Thanks for watching those thinking large. Stay curious. See you next time.